can still feel the chills running down my spine when I think about the night I had the most terrifying experience of my life through Tinder. It all began innocently enough, with a simple swipe right on a profile that seemed too good to be true. It was a rainy Friday night, and I was home alone with nothing but the sound of the pouring rain outside. I decided to give Tinder another shot, hoping to find someone interesting to chat with and maybe even meet up. That's when I came across his profile. His name was David, and he looked like the embodiment of every romantic fantasy I had ever had. He had striking blue eyes, dark hair, and a smile that could melt anyone's heart. We matched, and I couldn't believe my luck. He messaged me almost immediately, and our conversation was effortless. David was charming, witty, and incredibly engaging. He told me he was new in town and was looking for someone to explore the city with. I thought I had hit the jackpot. We quickly moved from Tinder to texting, and soon we were talking late into the night. David told me he was a writer and shared his love for the macabre and the mysterious. We bonded over our shared interests in horror movies and haunted places. It was almost like we were meant to find each other. After a few days of texting, David proposed that we meet in person. I agreed, and we settled on a date. I was nervous, but my excitement overruled any reservations I had. He suggested we meet at an old, abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. I was intrigued, and despite the eerie location, I couldn't resist the allure of a mysterious adventure. The day finally arrived, and I dressed in my finest clothes, trying to make a good impression. I got in my car and drove to the mansion. My heart was pounding as I approached the foreboding building. It was shrouded in darkness, and the rain seemed to intensify as I pulled into the overgrown driveway. David's car was already parked there, and I felt a surge of relief seeing that he had arrived. I grabbed my umbrella and made my way to the entrance. The door was ajar, creaking ominously in the wind. I called out for David but received no response. My unease grew as I stepped into the dimly lit foyer. The air was thick with the smell of dampness and decay. I could hear the faint echo of my own footsteps on the creaky wooden floor. As I ventured further into the mansion, I couldn't help but feel that something was terribly wrong. The place was filled with dusty, broken furniture, and the walls were adorned with faded, unsettling portraits. Each step I took seemed to reverberate through the empty rooms, and I began to second-guess my decision to come here. I finally found a room with an old, weathered sofa, and I sat down to gather my thoughts. My phone buzzed with a text from David. "Come to the basement. I have something to show you." My heart raced as I read the message. I had a bad feeling, but I couldn't ignore the curiosity that had drawn me here in the first place. Reluctantly, I made my way to the basement door, my trembling hand grasping the cold doorknob. The stairs leading down were steep and seemingly endless. The further I descended, the colder and darker it became. I fumbled for my phone to use its feeble flashlight, trying to pierce the overwhelming darkness. The shadows danced menacingly on the walls, casting eerie shapes. At the bottom of the stairs, I found David standing in the middle of the room. He had a sinister smile on his face and was holding a flickering candle. The room was filled with strange, unsettling symbols drawn on the floor, and the walls were lined with eerie paintings. "What is this place?" I stammered with my trembling voice. David's eyes gleamed with an unsettling intensity as he replied, "Welcome to my world, my dear. I've been waiting for someone like you." My heart pounded in my chest, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. It was clear that David was not the person he had portrayed himself to be. I tried to turn and escape, but the basement door had disappeared. Panic set in as I realized that I was trapped. David stepped closer, his face contorted into an unsettling expression. He began to chant in a language I couldn't understand, and the candles in the room flickered wildly. I felt an oppressive force closing in on me, and my vision blurred. I don't remember much after that. My memories are fragmented and filled with nightmarish images. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of darkness and despair. I woke up, hours or maybe even days later, in a cold, damp cell in the basement. The symbols on the floor had come to life, glowing ominously in the dim light. I was not alone in that cell. There were others, people who had also fallen victim to David's sinister trap. We huddled together, trying to make sense of our dire situation. It was clear that we were at the mercy of a madman, and our chances of escaping this nightmare seemed bleak. Days turned into weeks, and I lost all sense of time. David would visit us, his eyes devoid of humanity, and perform strange, sinister rituals. I feared for my life, and the lives of the others trapped with me. Then, one fateful night, a storm raged outside the mansion, and the power went out. In the darkness, a group of us managed to overpower David, and in our desperation, we fled the basement. We stumbled through the mansion, finding the front door ajar, and we raced out into the pouring rain. We flagged down a passing car, and the driver called the police. David was arrested, and it was later revealed that he had a history of luring people to that mansion, subjecting them to his horrifying rituals, and then leaving them to die in the basement. I was one of the fortunate ones who managed to escape that living nightmare. The horror I experienced on that rainy night through Tinder still haunts my dreams. I learned the hard way that not everything is as it seems, and sometimes the most alluring profiles can hide the darkest secrets. My advice to anyone using dating apps: be cautious and trust your instincts. You never know who might be lurking behind that enticing profile picture. In the dimly lit room of my cramped apartment, I sat alone, swiping left and right on my phone, navigating the treacherous waters of Tinder. The blue glow of the screen illuminated my face, casting eerie shadows in the room. It was late, and my friends had convinced me that joining the world of online dating was the best way to find love. Little did I know, I was about to experience a real-life horror story unlike anything I had ever imagined. After what felt like hours of scrolling, I stumbled upon a profile that piqued my interest. Her name was Ilara, and her pictures portrayed a stunning woman with fiery red hair, deep green eyes, and a captivating smile. I couldn't help but swipe right, hoping for a chance to connect with someone so alluring. Minutes later, a notification lit up my phone, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. Ilara had swiped right too, and we were now a match. Our conversation began with a simple hello, but it quickly spiraled into a whirlwind of fascinating discussions. Ilara was well-spoken, intelligent, and seemed to share many of my interests. As the days passed, our connection deepened, and we decided to meet in person. Ilara suggested a secluded, picturesque spot deep in the woods. She claimed to be an aficionado of nature and had a particular fondness for hiking. Being a nature enthusiast myself, I didn't think twice about her choice of location. We set a date for the following weekend. As the day approached, a sense of unease began to gnaw at the corners of my mind. Friends and family urged me to be cautious, warning me about the dangers of meeting someone from the internet in such a remote area. Still, I was captivated by Ilara's charm and couldn't let go of the opportunity to meet her. The day finally arrived, and I found myself driving along winding roads and through thick forests. The directions she had given were cryptic, leading me to believe that she wanted our meeting to remain a secret. As I parked my car at the edge of a densely wooded area, I couldn't help but feel a shiver run down my spine. The forest was eerily quiet, save for the occasional rustling of leaves in the breeze. I stepped out of my car and nervously checked my phone. There was a message from Ilara, asking me to follow a narrow path deeper into the woods. With a mixture of anticipation and dread, I obeyed, making my way through the dense underbrush. The path seemed to stretch on forever, and I began to doubt my decision. Just as I was about to turn back, I saw her. Ilara stood among the trees, her red hair gleaming like flames in the dappled sunlight. She smiled warmly and beckoned me closer. Approaching her, I felt a strange sensation in the pit of my stomach, as if something were off about this woman. Her eyes, once vibrant green, now seemed to flicker with an unsettling, otherworldly light. Ignoring my unease, I greeted her with a hug, but she held me just a moment too long, her embrace feeling oddly cold and distant. As we walked deeper into the woods, Ilara began to share stories about her love for nature and her unconventional hobbies. She spoke of herbs, potions, and rituals, all while her eyes continued to glimmer with an unsettling intensity. My unease grew, but I couldn't bring myself to break away from her spell. Eventually, she led me to a small clearing hidden deep in the woods. At the center of the clearing was a circle of stones, with various herbs and symbols laid out. My heart raced as I realized the true nature of the situation. Ilara was no ordinary woman. She was a witch. With a sinister smile, Ilara explained her intentions. She needed a willing participant for a ritual that would grant her immense power, and I had unknowingly walked into her trap. My stomach turned as I realized the gravity of my situation, and I tried to escape, but her eyes held me in place, like a moth drawn to a flame. In a voice that seemed to echo through the trees, she chanted incantations in a language I couldn't understand. The earth beneath my feet trembled, and a chilling wind swept through the clearing. I felt a surge of energy drain from my body, and I knew that I was becoming a sacrifice to her dark magic. As the ritual reached its climax, I saw a malevolent glow in Ilara's eyes, and I knew that there was no escape. I was trapped in a real-life horror story, a pawn in the hands of a witch. My vision blurred, and I lost consciousness. I awoke hours later, not knowing what had happened, lying on the forest floor. My body ached, and I could feel the remnants of my energy drained away. The clearing was empty, and Ilara was gone. The experience was surreal, as if it had all been a twisted nightmare. I stumbled back to my car, my mind reeling with the realization that I had narrowly escaped a true horror story. Meeting a witch on Tinder was the stuff of nightmares, and I had lived to tell the tale. From that day on, I deleted my dating apps and swore off online dating forever, haunted by the memory of a Tinder match that turned into a real-life encounter with a witch in the woods. The screen on my phone cast a dim blue glow across the room as I sat alone in the darkness of my bedroom. It was just past midnight, and like many nights, I was scrolling through Instagram, mindlessly swiping through endless stories and posts. The app had become a nightly ritual, a way to unwind and escape the monotony of life. Little did I know that this particular night would be different, that it would become the source of my deepest fear. As I scrolled, a notification popped up. A direct message from an unknown user. The username was a jumble of random letters and numbers. Intrigued and perhaps a bit bored, I clicked on it to see what it was all about. "Hello there," the message read. I paused for a moment, debating whether to reply or ignore it. After a few moments, I decided to respond with a simple, "Hi, who's this?" The user replied almost immediately, and their response sent a shiver down my spine. "I know who you are, and I know what you've done," they wrote. I was taken aback. Who could this person be? And what did they mean by what I've done? My mind raced, trying to come up with any explanation. I hadn't done anything to warrant such a message, as far as I could remember. I decided to ask for more information, hoping to clarify this strange accusation. "I'm not sure what you're talking about. Can you please explain?" The response was chillingly cryptic. "You'll find out soon enough. Keep watching." As I sat there, my heart pounding in my chest, I noticed that my Instagram stories had automatically progressed to the next one. I realized that this stranger must have been watching my stories as well. I quickly tapped on the next story to see what it was. It was a simple, blurry image, a darkened room with an eerie red light seeping through the cracks in the curtains. At first, it didn't seem significant, but as I continued to watch, my heart began to race. The room in the photo looked eerily similar to the one I was in, my very own bedroom. Suddenly, I heard a faint sound coming from the other side of the room. It was a creaking noise, like footsteps on hardwood floor. I froze, my eyes locked on the screen. Slowly, I panned my camera around the room, trying to capture what was happening. The red light in the image intensified, and I realized that the source of the footsteps was coming from my closet. My pulse quickened as I watched the Instagram story, unable to tear my eyes away. The footsteps grew closer, and then a pair of bloodshot eyes appeared from within the darkness of the closet. The eyes seemed to be staring directly at the camera, as if the person on the other end knew I was watching. Terrified, I slammed my phone shut and scanned my room, feeling a wave of dread wash over me. There was no one in the room with me, but my closet door was slightly ajar. I hesitated, my mind filled with terror and confusion. Had that image on Instagram been a live feed from my own room? As I mustered the courage to approach the closet, I could hear my own heartbeat echoing in my ears. My hands trembled as I pushed the closet door open, revealing nothing but the clothes and shoes within. There was no one there, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I had no idea who this person was, how they had managed to send me the chilling Instagram story, or how they knew the details of my own room. Fear and paranoia gripped me as I struggled to make sense of what had just occurred. I blocked the mysterious user and deleted the message, hoping that would be the end of it. But the horror of that night still haunts me. I couldn't sleep, and the feeling of being watched never truly went away. I'll never know who that person was or how they managed to invade my life through Instagram. But one thing is certain: the line between reality and the virtual world had blurred, and I was left with a chilling reminder that some horrors can come to life through the screens we stare at each day.